Hello everyone and welcome to Senior Susie Stamps. I'm glad you're with me today. I have a fun little project. Before we get started though, I have a card from a friend of mine, Helen in San Antonio. She made it and sent it to me and I wanted to show it to you. Isn't it pretty? See, it's got a bunch of, looks like copper colored foil on it and some hearts and some layering and a little bow. And she sent me, it says on the inside, it says, "Here's to those who inspire us and don't even know it." I just thought that was the prettiest color combination and nice card. Thank you, Helen. I appreciate it. And she sent me a sweet little note and some little goodies. So these are just some little tabs, which are very nice. They're double-sided paper. And then some die-cut butterflies that she has made out of some paper that had a little foil on it, looked like. And so today I thought we would use a couple of these butterflies. I have completely cleaned off my desk, and when I do that, I am reminded that I have these piles sitting over here of things that I need to keep working on getting used up. So that's what we're going to do today, is using some leftovers, and I'm going to put these little butterflies in that pile, and then I'll add these to my little pile to use in the future. And Helen, thank you so much for this card and the sweet note that went with it. Now, today I wanted to use a little bit of paper out of this paper pack, which came from Hobby Lobby, and I'm just going to flip through it right quick. You've seen this before. I got it earlier this spring, so it's probably still available, but it has a nice kind of smallish pattern for the most part, and it has a nice color palette. To me, it's pleasing. So that's the paper that we're going to use, and I'm going to use 2 different sheets of that. I also have some new dies today, and these came from Craft Addiction UK, and I get them from a company called Scrapbook and Memories out of Missouri. And I wanted to show you a little trick that I do when I'm taking apart my dies. And that is, I kind of just, on these kinds of things that are all clipped together, I just start a little roll and keep pushing back that way. I don't try to get my little pliers into these little tight spaces, but I just take them and roll them like that to get them to come apart. And so I think we're going to use one of these today. So I'm going to use this one, and I'll put these away. Oh, now when I'll put these in my little pack here, and I get these little sleeves with the magnets from Amazon.com. I will leave a link to those. But I put my cutting dies to the non-flap side. I don't know how else to say it but that. And that way, when you're pushing your flap in, you don't run any risk of pushing your dies off the magnet, because these are not really, really super strong magnets. So, Die Cutting 101, you heard it here first. So let's get started, because I want to use this paper. I have these little flowers that my friend Jackie sent me. And then I was fooling around trying to make some interesting looking leaves, and you'll see those a little bit later this week. And so I did a little bit of grunge work. And then I used my copper pen to go around the outside. Now this is a stitched die, and I just lined my ruler up right on that stitching and used my broad tip Sharpie to go over that. And you've probably seen this little piece of scrap laying around. All I did here was to drag a little brown ink over the top of it just to give it a little bit more interest with that piece. And then I found this piece of paper in that pack, and that's what we're going to use to die cut today. Let me do that and I'll be right back. Let's see, I believe this is the right way up. I hope you like this paper. I think it's really pretty. And then for this panel, I'm also going to put it down flat. And I'm going to put a little extra glue down because it got a little wet when I was playing with it the other day. So it needs just a little extra glue help. And I'm going to kind of set that off to the side just a little bit. And then we're going to use some more leftovers here. I'm going to take this piece and layer it up on here. And the fact that it's not quite long enough, I'm not worried about that, because this is one of those kind of kitchen sink leftover kind of days, you know, like when you're making vegetable soup and you're cleaning out your refrigerator. Well, you know what I'm saying. And so that's what these kind of cards are going to be today. And we'll just see how they turn out. And remember that some of this stuff could have just gone directly in the trash can. So if it ends up there today, then that's okay. That is okay. Now what I thought I would do with these is kind of stagger them down this straight line and soften it up just a little bit. And I'm going to leave room for my sentiment there. And I'm going to put some leaves in. So what I think I would like to do is put a little bit of foam up underneath these flowers just to give them a little more dimension. Now, you know, sometimes in the past I have kind of taken my tweezers and done things with the petals, but this card is busy enough that I don't think we're going to need any of that to have a nice, interesting card when we get through here. So I'm just going to go ahead and put my foam tape on the back of these, and then I'm going to wedge my little leaves into the foam tape before I glue them down. And we'll see that in just one little second here. Jackie told me that this is a Stampin' Up! Die. Oh gosh, and I think she said zinnias, if I'm not mistaken. I have the memory of a gnat sometimes, and I don't always remember. I had to keep all the labels of my dies that I've gotten recently so that I could tell you all what they were, because honestly, I don't pay that much attention to brand names and that sort of thing. So now, isn't that going to be pretty? I think it is. Let's put a little extra glue on that now, just to make sure that these leaves lock in tight, because they don't have a lot of surface area holding them in. And then we're going to stagger. And I'm going to do the same thing for the bottom one. Just put a little bit of leaf material back behind that little spot that goes to the bottom then. And this card will be finished in just a flash, won't it? It's really nice when people send you die cuts. And here we go. I'm going to do this one over here on this side as well, with my leaves kind of traveling out some. There. And then one leaf for the center one should be plenty. And it'll go right in here. And because there's so much dimension already on this card, it's not going to hurt my feelings to not put any dimension up underneath the sentiment at all. And I'm just going to put that right in there. Let's glue it up and call this card done. So we're using multiple different things. Oh, no, it's not done, because I still have a butterfly to fix on this card. Almost forgot. There we go. I'm going to hang this off so that the card finishes out nicely and draws that white edge into the card itself. And then I believe we'll try this little butterfly on here, and that'll tie the black in the ink for the sentiment into the project. Isn't that going to be gorgeous? Oh, I think so. I think so. I'm going to put a little glue on my butterfly, and I think I may tie this little leaf down a little more here. Just a little card surgery there. There we go. And now, Helen and Jackie, look at that sweet card that the supplies you sent me made. Isn't that lovely? I think it is. I don't think it needs anything else at all. You could put some little dewdrops on it or a few little gems, but honestly, I just don't see where it needs it at all. So there's card number 1. Let's look at card number 2 that I've got ready to roll out here. And on this one, I used some square dies, and it is going to be a 5 1/4 inch square card. And these also came from Craft Addiction. These are essential squares, and they're in a decal edge, which I think is interesting. Now, on this one, I've gone ahead and cut it. And I thought what might kind of be fun to do is to put a little piece of this decal onto the bottom of the envelope. So let's go ahead and see if we can get that to work out for us, just as a starting point here. And I'm going to just put a little glue on here. And then when I get ready to send it out, obviously my little glue strip is going to be covered up, and that's okay. I can put some glue on it out of my glue bottle and send it that way. Now, tell me what you think. But I think that's a nice little addition to this envelope and this very nice card that we're just getting ready to make. And all I need to do now is to trim out this little edge here and here. There, and you can see what a sweet little edge treatment that decal makes on this envelope flap. So let's go ahead and look at this card and see how it's going to come together. These are very, very simple to make, and I'm going to take a square folded card. Now this is 5 1/4 by 10 1/2, scored right down in the middle and folded and burnished. And I have a large square out of this other paper, and I chose this paper because I think it pairs well with the elements that I had left on my desk. And here are those little leaves that I was making earlier this week. They have stamps and smudges and glitter glue and some copper around the edges on them. They're kind of interesting. And it was just one of those, little quirky things that I was working on. I'm going to glue this down flat also because there's a lot of visual interest going on in this card, and I don't think this needs to be elevated up at all. And there we go. I like that little decal edge. You'll have to let me know what you think. I was so delighted when I found a shop that's actually stocking the Craft Addiction UK. I've gotten kind of hooked on them, and they're really nice cutting dies. It's not a sponsored video, you know how that goes. Now on this one, this was a white piece of scrap paper, and I have a little brick embossing folder that I used. And you probably remember these little circles from maybe a couple of weeks ago. Well, this was the little scrap piece of paper that was left over, and I knew it was going to be a cutoff. So I went ahead and did some ink drag on that, and then I went back with my blending brush and blended just a little more color in, because I really didn't want to have just a plain white panel stuck out there. We'll see. I'm going to bring this flat edge over just a tiny bit into this decal, because I want it to look like it is kind of finished. I don't want to bring it all the way though, and I am going to put a little extra glue on this because of the embossing texture. It needs to pull it down tight because this is just a tiny bit warped. This paper is. There we go. So I'm trying to get it situated kind of up and down equally. And then I'm going to put just a little bit of pressure on that for a second and let it hold. And then I'm going to go back in with my little frame and do the same thing. I am not going to put foam up underneath this frame. I just don't think it needs it at all, because we're going to put just a little bit of foam underneath these flowers. And the leaves, I did a little bit of curling on the leaves, so I'm just going to glue these down. This round circle die, you remember now, was part of that Craft Addiction UK purchase that I made of my original purchase of those dies. And I liked them so well, I went back and bought some more. So you know how that goes. Here we are. I'm trying to get this pulled into place before the glue sets. There we go. Right, like so. Very nice. And that covers up a lot of the paper, but you can see it still is pulling the greens out of the paper into this project. And then when we go ahead and glue these little leaves onto those flowers, and I'm going to do the same thing we did before. I'm going to put them up on some foam blocks and then stick my leaves to those foam blocks and then put a little extra glue on them to glue them down. You have to let me know what you think about my little leaf project here, because I think they're pretty cool. They're just a little different than a straight green leaf is. And I'm going to go ahead and kind of put these over here, kind of around, I think. This is going to be a get well soon card. And so that's my plan for it. Hold them for just a second till they tack up, and then we'll keep moving on. There we go. And there is flower number 3. And what I couldn't figure out was if I needed another little something, and I just don't think so. I think we're going to put this little get well soon in here. But it doesn't quite seem to, it needs a little something up underneath there. Let me see. I'm going to get my same pen out and do this in that color and see if maybe that is just what this card needs. So hang on, I have a little alcohol marker that I used for that earlier today, and that colorizes it to match the frame that's there. Now, where did my sentiment go? Oh, well, it's here somewhere, isn't it? What on earth did I do with it? Did I toss it on the floor? Well, I declare, it has gone AWOL. Let me see if I have another nice sentiment here. And now let's try this over here. Oh, I kind of like that a little better. And then we still have our little butterfly to come in here. And it's blue. It's going to tie this blue paper together, I hope. So let's go ahead and get this little panel here glued down. And again, I'm putting extra glue on it. Now you watch this. As soon as I get this card all put together, that little get well soon will instantly appear. Is that the way it does in your studio? Because I'm guaranteeing you that's the way it does here. And now I'm going to put this hello up on just a little piece of foam, because I think it needs just a little more definition from that little panel there. This is one of the reasons why I like to cut my own foam, because I can custom cut what I need out of these 1-inch pieces of foam that I have. And it works much better for me than trying to make little small pieces of foam match what I'm working on. So here we go. There's the hello. And now here is the butterfly. Coming right in here, and we're going to tie this element, that element, and this one together in one little motion here by placement of the butterfly. And there we go. That's a pretty card. I like that. If you have a favorite now, you're going to have to tell me, because I'm always challenged to pick up a favorite out of cards, especially when I'm using things that I've received as gifts. I just think these are lovely. And I have to thank Jackie and Helen for sending me the little die cuts that they sent. I really appreciate it, y'all. So I hope y'all have a great week, and I'll put this in my little tray over here. You'll see it another day, I'm fairly certain. And we'll talk to you again soon. Bye, everybody.